Welcome, everybody. Thanks so much for joining us tonight. I'm Marissa with Transition US, one of the organizers for the Regenerative Community Summit. Can I just get a show of hands, folks who are on the organizing team for the summit, so you can see who will be your guides this evening? Got Dawn, Jessica Cajote, Scalen, myself, Jewel, Karen, a handful of other folks. I'm going to turn it over to Jessica Cajotes to get us started.
Oh, everyone, it is so wonderful to gather with you tonight. So happy to be a co-host for this. This is beautiful. We are going to start with an opening, and we're going to use an app called Mentimeter. You can either use the computer or your smartphone if you have that available. Let me go ahead and I'm going to poll a question for everyone. Let me share my screen. And it also says my internet connection is unstable, so stay with me here. If you see at the top here, you can go to menti.com and use this code in order to answer this. It will become a word cloud. And the other thing that I can do, excuse me for just a second while I get to the chat, I am going to put the Mentimeter link in the chat here as well. So the question is, what is your earth spirit name? What is your nature spirit name? Oh, this is beautiful. Mystical atheist, peacemaker, polar bear, lion, falcon, calm lake, water, love, tree guy, pollinator, thank you everyone for participating. This is everyone who is in the room this evening. And look at the incredible diversity that we have as we connect ourselves to the earth. That was fun. As we open up tonight, I wanted to share a story of why we're all here tonight. And I hail from Milwaukee, Wisconsin, We are approximately 70 miles north of Chicago. The city sits on the coast of Lake Michigan. And before Milwaukee became an industrialized port city, it was inhabited by the indigenous nations such as the Chippewa and the Algonquin, the Sioux, the Fox, the Potawatomi, the Ojibwe. And the name, what Milwaukee means, is very much debated. Some think that it's an Algonquin name for the good land. Others say that it means a good gathering place by the waters. And technically, I live in a neighboring village of Wauwatosa. And Wauwatosa is a Potawatomi name that means firefly. And there are certainly a lot of fireflies in Milwaukee. Is everybody hear me okay?
You're breaking up a little.
Can you hear me now? I hear that, okay. Okay, so I'm gonna keep going. Somebody let me know if you can't hear me. There are a lot of fireflies in Wauwatosa, and in the high summer during the fertile seasons, you know, the fireflies come and they gather in the good land near the water. And I always imagine that they speak to each other, you know, by shining their lights. And as they flicker and dance, I imagine so that we can bring the stars to the earth and light up the darkness for a path to walk. And of course, their lights shine for each other. There's another reference or an expression of this as well, and they're called antibodies. So I was reminded recently of Paul Hawken's book, Blessed Unrest. And I pulled it off the shelf and it looks like this, right? So you can see that I've studied this quite a bit. It's very much loved. In the book, Paul Hawken compares the immeasurable number of organizations working like antibodies against the disastrous things that have happened to the beings within the earth and the earth herself. You know, there are seemingly few but unconquerable things happening out there, but the number of organizations that come and go are immeasurable, and they are the antibodies to what is happening. So this book is also about, I'm sure many have read it. Can I see you know, hands of people who have read Blessed Unrest and probably eaten it up? Yeah. It's about how the largest movement came to being and no one saw it coming. And so this was actually published in 2007, and I remember eating it up right then. And that was as the transition movement was kind of sweeping across internationally, the world. And what transition did is it invited and empowered everyday citizens to gather and mobilize actions, you know, of a regenerative nature that supported life. There were more antibodies. We can do this. We are the ones we've been waiting for. So in that book, Hawken reviews Thoreau's civil disobedience. And I loved this point that there were no inconsequential acts for Thoreau. There were only consequential inactions. So Thoreau writes, "For it matters not how small the beginning may seem to be. What is once well done is done forever." So that's how we come to the Regenerative Community Summit. It's a gathering place for all antibodies, active or even inactive. And whether it is your local 350.org group or your neighbor who has expressed her pains with the number of things that she would like to see changed in the world and doesn't know what to do. So we are all antibodies in this. So we will review the summit tonight. This is an incredible opportunity to bring so many antibodies and fireflies together to light our paths. This is virtual. So there are no limitations when it comes to travel. There are no limitations when it comes to cost. It is a pay what you can. We are very much hoping it's an expensive endeavor with a lot of heart and passion behind it. So asking for $45 in order to do this, but it is pay what you can and free for youth and BIPOC folk as well. So what I have to say is that now is the time to gather, to bring together the antibodies and the fireflies for life-affirming actions. We can learn together, we can strengthen our light, we can wink at each other, we can multiply, and we can bring the stars to the earth to light up the darkness and to find a path for regeneration. And so I will end with the very last line of Blessed Unrest, which almost brings me to tears every time I read it. What will guide us is a living intelligence that creates miracles every second, carried forth by a movement with no name. So with that, I thank everybody for being here. I can't wait to meet you in person. And I want to know, oh, there's Mr. John Ferren. Oh, hold on just a second. I have to give some thanks here as well. So for these amazing summit organizers that have been working tirelessly, we have on the team, we have Rua, and please raise your hands if you're in the audience so everyone can see who you are. Rua, Jewel, Karen, Elvia, Jess P, Don, Galen, Kat, Thea, John, and Marissa. I'd also like to very quickly share my screen again. Let me come over here. So you get to see all of our run of show. There you go. And I'd like to bring you to the summit page as well, where you can review the incredible programming, which Jewel will take us through in just a minute. But I'd also like to thank our partners and sponsors, the ones so far. So the reason why we're here tonight is so that you can and really dream up and brainstorm more fireflies and antibodies that we can promote this to bring them together. So this is who we have so far. So thank you to them as well. Next, I am going to, I don't know why this won't let me stop sharing. Give me just a second, please. There we go. I'd like to introduce you to John Ferren. And he is going to take us through another elevator pitch about the IPCC and how that is related to the summit.
Golly, you're right. I'm sure those who follow things know a few things that happened in the last 10 days. The collapse of Afghanistan, we have the revival of COVID around the world, people with vaccines getting COVID again. And we had a week ago, Monday on August 9th, the release of the Intergovernmental on Climate Change, the first part of their 6th assessment report, like a 4th-page document to count the appendices. And fortunately, there's a 42-page summary. Policymakers, which is indeed a wake-up call. I guess we're all already, so I'm not sure we needed all that effort. But still, it underlines the point that in the soup. And what's the best way to make sure the soup is tasty? That is to attend this summit. This is not a conference that follows any kind of format or formula or genre that you may be familiar with, at least in my experience. And I've been to a lot of conferences and a lot of Zoom events. This is a 16-day, really a community building, a world transforming, a momentum building opportunity to connect with other people, to learn from other people, and really to take transition, if you're here because you are part of the Great Transition US Network, to take transition to the next level, which is something we need to do. We all have to get to the next level. As far as I can see, based on having put a lot of meeting hours into with others, create program and the outreach and all of the rest, this is a transformational opportunity possibly, and I hope that you will all be inspired tonight to kind of imagine how you and yours can make it reach this potential that it possesses. It's really smart, organized for action. It's not like anything else. Peace back.
Thank you, John. And next we're going to turn it over to Jewel, who's been supporting a lot of our programming, and she's going to give us a programming overview.
I'm not able to share the screen. Okay. So as, while I'm getting the screen up, we'll just continue on that thread that John was speaking about. And actually, you know, I really see this whole summit as being kind of a community of practice. It's a gathering of powerful, ordinary, everyday heroes that all of us are, powerful heads, hearts, and hands, and boots on the ground. So the whole summit is been designed to be an engaged, participatory discussion, including our plenaries. So we don't have any like one person talking head keynote type of thing like you see at a lot of conferences. All of our plenaries are discussions, hopefully very inspiring discussions. So we will have an opening and closing with leaders of transition. I'm not getting up my page, so if you all want to look to, for some reason it's not working, so I'm just going to go ahead and speak to it. We have an opening and closing ceremonies with the leaders of transition, honoring the leaders of transition and all the transition work that's been happening. And we have some special surprises for you around that. And then the plenaries will be over the first 2 weekends, the Saturday and Sundays. The first one will be on regenerative communities, and that features Daniel Christian Wall. And we have a dialogue partner for Daniel, or he's a dialogue partner for her, Thaisa Matos, who is the coordinator of the Global Eco Village Network. And they'll be talking about regenerative communities around the world and how to, oh, thank you so much. I appreciate that. So she's not up there on the screen yet, but we'll be getting all of this updated. So the next plenary is on just transition, and that is promising to be a very lively conversation on the very important aspect of justice in all that we're doing. And then all through the week, we're going to have workshops, we're going to have lunch and learns, and we're going to have inner resilience mornings. So please do look for that. There's going to be something different every day. The workshops will be on things like decolonization, like climate justice, starting a co-op, climate change and disaster and mental health, repair cafe. I mean, I just go on and on. We've got about 16 of them so far. And then we've got film nights, 2 film nights each week on Thursday. I believe it's on Tuesday nights. And we've got, along with that film night, a whole film package that you can watch these other films at your own time. But those 2 nights are going to be special nights where we're having discussions with people that are related to the topic of the film. So please do check that out. That's a really exciting gift from Films for the Planet. And then the next plenary weekend, we have also an evening on the arts, and we're excited to be announcing more of that soon. And then the next weekend, we're going to be hosting Emily Kawano, Lila June Johnston, and Richard Heinberg in a conversation on regenerative systems. So their focus is going to be kind of political and economic. Lila June will probably be saying something about the 7th generation New Deal that she's been promoting. And I expect that to be an extremely interesting conversation. Vicki Robin is going to be moderating that, and she's an amazing podcaster, so I'm sure she's going to have some really good questions. And then the next day we have Crisis as Catalyst for Transformation, which is got another person just added to that. We have Tom Llewellyn of Shareable, you may know him, and his film is also going to be shown, called The Response. So, and he'll be speaking after that film as well on the film night about the film. But in this plenary, we're going to be talking about how we take the crises and the disasters and all the challenges that we're dealing with, and how do we use this as an opportunity to transform, because obviously that's what we have to do when we want to survive. So, and there are a lot of amazing people doing just such a thing. And Elaine Miller Carras has gone all over the world and helped in disasters, building resilience. She's specialty in trauma recovery, and she'll be talking about that. And then the third person is Rupa Maria, who is a really amazing and powerful voice for climate justice. And so she's a medical doctor, so she'll be talking about health in the wake of all of this. So the following week is more workshops, more films, and then we're going to have a couple council nights on Thursday nights. We just added those. Solidarity with across the generations, a night on healing the divides. So conversations to hold spaces for many different perspectives. Like, all voices need to be heard. And it's really important that we hold spaces for that, so that we can come together and work together and honor everybody and lift up the voices of all of us together, because it's all of us together that's going to make the difference. So that's the intention of this summit. And please do look for more. As I mentioned already, the inner resilience will be in the morning. So there's going to be lots there too. Conflict transformation, NBC, somatic and embodied practices, yoga and movement, and so on. So the closing ceremony and then the open space, Dawn will be hosting an open space, and Marissa will be hosting an event on bioregionalism. And oh my gosh, there's so much more. There's a big topic thread through here on Indigenous and food sovereignty, which I think is really interesting. That's emerged, and obviously that's a very important topic. So that, and also the disasters and climate change. So thank you. I think that's my time, and I'm looking forward to updating more of this website for you. All right.
Wonderful, thank you. Yeah, we've been working really hard to pull this amazing content together, and I just want to direct you all to the events calendar on the Transition US website, so that transitionus.org/summit is the main summit page, and then we are listing all of the events in our events calendar, so you can learn about other events that Jewel didn't go through just now, and we'll continue adding all the workshops there. So there's just more detailed program info. Thanks. All right. We are so excited about this event, and our goal is to have 5,000 folks registered. We think now's the time to get the word out about transition and regeneration. They are ideas whose time has come. And we just launched registration yesterday. We have had 50 people register so far, and we're hoping to get to that 5,000 number over the next month. And we need your help, and that's why we're here tonight. We're hoping tonight we can reach 25,000 people through our collective efforts. Again, we're really excited about outreach to young people, and we have free registration for youth and BIPOC friends. We have over 40 people here tonight. That means, you know, we could each reach between 500 and 1,000 people, and we would get to 25,000 folks tonight. And we have some, that might sound like a lot, but we have a lot of ideas to share with you about how to get to that 500 or 1,000 of your closest friends. Your social media network, your local public institutions, your community groups, your friends, your families. And I want to tell you a little bit about the marketing approach that we're taking for the campaign as the organizer, or for the gathering as the organizing team. We have a number of promotional partners, including Shareable and the New Economy Coalition, some awesome organizations with a lot of alignment and a lot of members. We're going to be doing some paid social media marketing on Facebook and Instagram, but we need your help with those campaigns to make our content go viral. We need you to share our posts, and we're going to have some breakout rooms tonight focused on that. And we'll be doing some earned media as well, like John Foran, who spoke earlier. He's on our board, and he's volunteered to write an article about the IPCC report and linking to the summit. So for the next hour, we are going to be in breakout rooms, and we have 6 breakout rooms that you're going to be able to travel between. So we are doing an outreach power hour together. I want to post in the chat here what those different groups will be. So one is on art and social media. That'll be hosted by Jess and Elvia from our staff team. We're going to do one on youth and educator outreach that John Foran will be hosting. We will do one on summit partners. So that is if your local group wants to become a partner of the summit, or if you have ideas for other groups to reach out to become partners of the summit. Jessica Cajotes is going to be holding down that room and guiding you through that process. I'm going to be hosting a room on local and regional events and community engagement. Our invitation with this gathering, it's structured in a hybrid format so that we'll have this centralized online content, and then as it feels appropriate and safe for you to do, you can host local events around this content. We have a lot of ideas for that in our hosting guide that I linked earlier. And we know that things are shifting rapidly with COVID, and I would say we're glad that we ended up doing a virtual event, because it will be something we can continue to do no matter how COVID evolves. But I'll be there to talk to you about any ideas you have for local events, and also engaging your community, even if you don't do a live local event. How can your community still learn about your work and be inspired by this summit? And then Galen will be hosting a space on Mighty Networks, which is our social networking platform. And then finally, Karen's going to host a space on reaching beyond our local communities, including any big metropolitan areas, organizations we should be reaching out to there, other national networks, other community groups that might want to become part of our network, etc. You'll be able to move between the rooms yourself, and before we put you in the breakout rooms, Galen will describe how that works. But you can drop in. You can drop in and spend 10 minutes doing some work on social media, and then 20 minutes doing some partner outreach, and another 20 minutes brainstorming a local event. Or you could visit all 5 groups, or you could spend the whole hour in one room. Whatever feels good and exciting and interesting to you. And again, we're so grateful you're here to help us with this. It feels really like a community supported summit. So after we spend an hour in those rooms, we're going to come back together for a large group harvest round to hear what happened in all of the rooms. And then we are going to preview a very exciting campaign that we're going to be launching at the summit called Regeneration Nation. It's yes, very exciting. It's a 3-year campaign. It's a vehicle for bringing our strategic plan we've been working on for the last 1.5 years to the world in a very powerful and exciting way. So we hope you'll stick around to hear about that at the end. And before I turn it over to Galen I'm sorry, first we're going to come up with a list of people and groups to reach out to. That's right. Okay. Yeah, so before we go into these groups, we're going to take about 5 minutes to come up with a list of people and groups to reach out to. And that'll be kind of your goal for tonight, to work your way through this list and travel through our different rooms. I wanted to make some time at the beginning just to think quietly and have some focused energy on coming up with that great list of everyone to reach out to before we move into the breakout rooms, and it might be more distracting. So with that said, I wanted to invite you all to grab a piece of paper and a writing utensil if you can, or pull up a document on your screen, or you could even just make some notes in the chat window. But we're going to be coming up with a list. And first, maybe just take a few breaths. You can close your eyes if you like and get grounded and present for this. What we're feeling is a very exciting moment for transition. It feels like a turning point to a lot of us who have been organizing this event and meeting in our kind of national network strategy groups. Yes, regeneration is an idea whose time has come. It's so needed. So I'm inviting you to imagine that this event is wildly successful. We register more than 5,000 people. And there are enough folks in your local community who have been exposed to these concepts and inspired by them. They have, tasted the medicine of transition and the vision that we have, that you can develop more support for your local work and things start to flow more easily and bigger things are possible. So I encourage you to think about who you will need to reach out to get to that point. That transition is understood and embraced in your community. Who are your allies who you want to expose to this exciting content that we're pulling together? Maybe start with, family, friends, neighbors, and think for a minute there. And then I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Karen, to provide some more inspiration on this.
Yeah. So as you're thinking of these ideas, write down whatever comes to your mind and don't cross anything out or prioritize anything. Just kind of brainstorm. Think about, as Marissa said, family, friends, neighbors, groups that you belong to. Maybe you're in community gardens or a church group or a buying club or something like that. If you're thinking about social media, to maybe take a minute to write down all of the different social media groups that you're involved with. So not just the platforms like Facebook or Twitter, but what groups do you belong to that you could post to? I might know 100 people on Facebook, but I belong to a lot of groups with a lot of other people that would see posts. Think about your network of maybe volunteer groups. Do you volunteer at the food shelf or the library or your local school? Those might be organizations with lists of people that you could reach out to. Think about local or national or even international organizations that you're connected to, and think about how they might fit into this. What about your library, your school, groups that you donate to? So any of your volunteer networks. Schools especially is a great focus. Are you a student? Can you reach out to the student organizations and clubs, to your alma mater maybe, or to your children's schools, whether it's your community elementary school or a university? There might be student organizations, PTO, just the school office. They would be interested in this. Maybe you have friends who are teachers or students, and you can ask them to reach out. And remember, there is a youth and education outreach breakout room that you can go to for more ideas along this. Think about your community, who's doing this important work directly or indirectly. Remember your town or your city committees, the Energy Commission, Conservation Committee, your library we mentioned, health and welfare committees or groups like that. The town development, I think someone even in the chat mentioned your town offices. There's other community organizations like farms, maybe the master gardeners in your area, food co-ops, social justice organizations, nature-based schools, anybody that you can come up with that as you go through what's coming in this summit, that will spark your ideas of who you could reach out to as well. Hiking groups. Of course, we should have mentioned right off transition initiatives, your transition initiative, the ones in local communities near you, and groups that may not know that they're really part of our network yet, but they want to be. They just don't know it yet. Think about reaching out to those. And as you get through those local connections, those local community ideas, you can get some more ideas by just kind of Googling terms that resonate with you: permaculture, climate change, community, sustainable, climate justice, social justice, resilience. And if you Google those terms and your town or your city, you might get a lot of hits of organizations that you can reach out to. And then we'll be talking in one of the groups about maybe reaching out beyond your local community to other regions, to, the public libraries of New York City. Why not? We can do this. So anyways, just to get you thinking, write down these notes, take them with you into these groups. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Karen. So if we all reach out to 5 groups that have 200 folks in their network that they can spread the word to, that's 1,000 people right there. So just to get you thinking how we can reach those goals. Okay, with that, we are going to go into our breakout rooms and start this power hour of outreach.
All right, so hope that those breakouts were lively and productive. We want to take a few minutes to hear back from each of the groups. I was thinking maybe we could start with folks that were hosting each of the rooms and then get some more feedback from people that participated in the rooms, if you want to offer another perspective. And Jess, are we, Jessica Cohodes, are we bringing in the Mentimeter at this point, or is that a little bit later?
It could be later if people want to read out right now. I don't know how important it really is, and even if we need to do it, so. Okay.
All right, well, let's get started with the harvests and see how those go. And the first room I have on my list is art and social media. So I think we had both Elvia and Jessica Parfrey in that room.
Yeah, I can start, and then Elvia, please add in. We had a really rich conversation. We talked about the power of art to reach across difference. We talked a little bit about Instagram. It seemed like most folks were familiar with Facebook, but there were some questions about why Instagram is getting younger folks' interest. How do we set one up? So we shared the media toolkit that I put together, and I think you'll see it in the chat. It probably went out to everyone. And in there, you'll find some sample social media posts. We also encourage folks to really dig deep and find out what inspires them about the summit. What does regeneration mean to them? And creating their own content, their own memes, sharing it on Facebook, sharing it through email, throughout their networks. And then also the idea of using video messaging to reach folks in a deeper way. Like, you can use some of our canned language around the summit and why we're excited about it, but what will get folks there is you speaking about why you are personally invested in this space and what you're hoping to see come out of it. Like, what's next that comes after the summit? And we also talked about social justice. We talked about, like, Stephen brought up a really important point, like how is social justice being brought into the summit and our work. So we talked a little bit about our emerging campaigns of resist, repair, and regenerate, how to be a good ally, how to connect with communities of color in a good way. So we had a broad range of conversation, but I'll stop there and pass it over to you, Elvia, if you have anything else to add in.
I think it was just a good conversation overall, and I think you pretty much captured all of the points. But yeah, I think outreach is an important aspect of making sure that we have other interested people that will want to attend our Regenerative Summit, like, know about this. So yeah, but thank you all for being part of the space.
And I just dropped a link to the media toolkit again in the chat for folks.
Great. And I just wanted to say for people who weren't in there that one of the easiest things you can do, and maybe most impactful, is to invite your friends to the Facebook event if you're on Facebook. In maybe a half an hour, you could invite hundreds of people to the summit that way. And the more people show that they're going, the more that there's a buzz. And the more people are likely to sign up. All right, so with that, let's go to the next group, which was Youth and Educator Outreach. And I believe John was leading that.
Well, that explains youth went. I think they went to group 1, and I'm glad that they did. We were kind of a motley of educators, in the sense that we had people teaching at many different levels and many different kinds of institutions, which tends to happen. The transition takes education a very broad, and that's exciting because it just means the goal of this whole process, we can get the word out to many, many different kinds of circles. One thing that we wanted, it's probably needs to just our attention be drawn to it again, is a template for outreach emails. Should be brought explicitly to our attention, and we're going to do an educator's version of that to, again, for each person to fine tune that for circles. Idea about, of course, if you teach and you have classes and colleagues, and you have an opportunity and to get the word out to others, to networks of networks. And that's the only way we're going to make 25,000 people aware of this, is to do that in a way that's targeted enough to specific people so that they forward it to their networks. And it spreads like that. It's sort of the phenomenon. If someone can do a viral tweet for us, perhaps that would be just the hole in one. The only other thing I took away, we didn't really have a structured conversation, a bunch of teachers, is that two aspects of outreach. There's the outreach game before the conference where our circles, and then outreach can continue to build during the summit. So there's all kinds of ways to do that with the people that you meet at the summit. Just keep outreach in mind and try and inspire and encourage them to do outreach, further outreach into their circles during the conference. And that's all I have. So, oh yeah, someone held up a book, a great, I can't remember the name of the book, Tim. And it reminded me that, yeah, if you have a favorite book, write to the author of that book, if it's on the topic, and get them interested in the summit. All we can say, right, thanks, Tim, was in our group. Great book. And these are the people that are going to be interested in, and they all have followings. So there's a kind of an odd roundabout way to reach into some other networks without even knowing the people. But the conference has to be good. All right, that's all I have. I don't know if Tim or Chuck
I think we're gonna need to keep moving on so as not to shortchange our exciting announcement. But thank you, John. That was great. just ask folks as we go on, maybe be a little bit briefer. So we had Jessica Cojotes in the Summit Partners room.
Yeah, hey there. So this is a lot of the partners is almost overlapping information from the other rooms as well. To John's point, we're not going to be able to reach 25,000 people without really proactively reaching out to other organizations that are doing similar work that may want to be promoted as well. So as you could see earlier, so what we did within the room is I went over, what it is to partner. For everyone who did not have a chance to come in, for the summit, if you decide to become a partner, we will promote your organization. The more the merrier, whether you're a transition initiative, a regional group, a national organization, it doesn't matter. We will post your logo with links from the website, registration on emails, and then we'll do a spotlight in social media as well. So we have right here, I'm going to put, let me see, the partners form into the chat right here. Everybody, if you could take that away, we will send a follow-up email with this information, the media kit, everything else. The other thing that we did within the room is instead of building a list of partners, this was actually a support group for transition initiatives to talk about what works and what doesn't. So that was actually quite beautiful. Peace back.
Great, thanks, Jessica. And just very briefly wanted to let people know that we got a new partner today, not up on the website yet, but the Pioneers Conference. So that's a very exciting partnership. They have a huge reach and a very beloved conference doing cross promotion with us. All right. Let's move on to local, regional events and community engagement. And who was holding that room?
That was me, and we had a great conversation. A lot of folks from all over the country. We talked about how it makes sense to plug into the summit as a local group live, or what are the best ways to kind of organize your group around this, given the online nature of the conference and COVID concerns. That folks talked about doing, outdoor discussions and gatherings, and we talked about like when would it make the most sense to do those. We talked about utilizing the summit to engage kind of specific influential folks around one topic or theme that they're interested in, and then the summit itself will kind of provide the context as to how everything is related, looking at the systemic nature of all these crises that we're dealing with. We talked about the regional organizing event on the last day, October 10th, as well as leading up to that, we're having another national network strategy call on regional organizing next week, August 24th, Tuesday. I'll put the link in the chat for that and welcome you all to that as well. But folks had a lot of great ideas of who to reach out to and how to get engaged. And I was very inspired. Thank you.
All right, let's move on to the next group. We have two left, Mighty Networks, that's scaling.
All right, thanks. So we had some good conversations. Only a couple people came through, and we were able to have some real nice one-on-one and talk about the site. Instead of doing a harvest, I'd like to just really quick give just a quick little sneak peek into our space. So this is the Mighty Network space. Pardon our dust, it's under construction, but this is what it will look like. And we'll have places, this is the home space where you can post things. We have different topics that we can add so we can organize conversation. Any over here on the side menu is your topics list. And anything you want to see, let's say if you want to see, this will organize our conversations. All the posts that are tagged with this topic, say politics and policy, will show up here. We have our events space on the sidebar here, and you can click, and this is how you'll RSVP for events. There will be a button here. And then once you RSVP, the meeting link will be here and you can jump in. And there's several different spaces of the site. One, for example, is event recordings, where we'll be posting all the event recordings. You can come here and engage in conversations. And before I bring it back, I'll just give you a quick peek of the guide. The Regenerative Community Summit guide is here. It's linked to on the landing page on the website. And one of the many things on here is the online participation guide and a quick start guide for Mighty Networks. So I highly recommend people check this out. It'll give you a really brief walkthrough and make sure that you're welcomed and settled into your new space here. And I'll pass the piece back there.
Right, thank you so much. And our last group is Reaching Beyond Our Local Communities, and I believe that's Karen.
That is Karen. And we had a great talk. We generated a lot of ideas. We each created lists of, we harvested specific organizations that we can reach out to, as well as general organization groups like environmental nonprofits or registered voters, different ideas. There definitely was interest also in folks looking for the email kind of a template or something that would be really handy to send out that would hit all the high points. So that would be favored. One of the ideas that I just want to make sure that we circle back to is, as you're looking to reach out for these organizations, we started with what our local organization we were thinking of, let's say my town library or the environmental advisory board in our community, and then think beyond that and say, okay, what would be the countywide equivalent of that? What would be the statewide equivalent of that? What would be the national equivalent of that? And then go for it. At the biggest bang for the buck that we can get, let's do this. So we had a great talk. Thank you very much. Peace back.
Great. Well, it sounds like a lot of good information, a lot of good work has been done, and maybe even more coming out of this hackathon. Jessica, did you want to say anything before we close this section and hand it over to Marissa?
Jessica P or Jessica C?
Jessica C.
Okay.
No, let's hand this over. I think we'd like to see everyone get registered, and we can skip the Mentimeter thing for right now. How's everybody feel about that? Thumbs up. Yeah. Okay. Fantastic. Let's roll along.
Okay, so it was really funny to me in my breakout group. Mark kind of posed the question to me that it was my job to talk to all of you about, which is, are we ready to capture and store the energy generated from the summit in our local groups? Are we set up to, track the contact information if people are coming to our events, or invite potential strategic partners to the summit to get exposed to these concepts? Can we invite them to the bioregional organizing session so we can start thinking at a regional level strategically? Do we have an exciting project to invite folks into after the summit to capture that energy and move forward? So it was really funny when Mark said, "Are you ready to be that successful?" And I said, well, it might be a little rough if we reach, 100,000 people, new folks, but I think we're ready for the challenge. And the only reason it's a little rough is because we're overhauling all of our systems right now. Our data management, our website, our organizational and staff structure. We have a new strategic plan. We're so excited for this moment, and we just need more capacity really to be able to rise and be like as professional and organized as we would like to be to absorb the energy. But we have a really exciting idea that Jess is going to share with you. Our vehicle for launching our strategic plan over the next 3 years. And it's really based on all of the input we've gotten from all of you over the last 1.5 years in our strategic planning process. And we think that this campaign will generate the resources that we need to absorb that energy in a good way and capture and store the momentum generated from the summit. So the last session, the final Friday, we're going to have what we're calling a catalyzing and closing call to action ceremony. And we've been really thinking about what is that catalyzing call to action. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Jess.
Yeah, and before I get into our exciting announcement, I just want to thank you all for being here. I know I myself jumped out of a car after a 4-hour ride, came here a little bit late, but just being in space with you all and hearing all of your amazing ideas and your beautiful visions for the summit, this is why we do this work. So I think we are ready. And I also wanted to share that I was able to connect with Dawn and Marissa. We have been working together virtually for some time, was able to spend some time outdoors and really share our ideas and our visions for what the summit really means. And this coalesced into something that we're calling Regeneration Nation. So today I'm just offering a very brief sneak peek, kind of a distilled essence of what we're hoping to unleash. So I'm going to go ahead and just read a definition here, because regeneration is a really powerful meme. And the essence behind this campaign is how do we make regeneration a household name? And I want to give credit to you, Dawn, for bringing us this clarity. But we've brought regeneration into our mission statement. This is something that we're going to be moving forward on. We've heard a lot about feedback over the years about how regeneration needs to be our way forward as an alternative to an extractive and oppressive system. And so I think we've packaged together something that's going to be really exciting and transformative for this movement, because we're hoping to unleash the next wave of transition. This is what's going to take us into the future. So I'm just going to read this little definition about regeneration because I'm a nerd and this isn't compelling to me. In biology, regeneration is the process of renewal, restoration, and tissue growth that makes genomes, cells, organisms, and ecosystems resilient to natural fluctuations or events that cause disturbance or damage. Every species is capable of regeneration, from bacteria to humans. We're dealing with a lot right now. There's a lot of heaviness in the news. I know as I was starting to get back on grid, I'm just feeling myself spiral. So recentering ourselves and reminding ourselves of what we're capable of when we're tapping into our imaginative capacity and really being honest about what our gifts are and why we're here to do the work that we do, that's going to be our secret to success. So briefly about the campaign, I'm going to quickly share a screen. I hope that's the right one. Okay. So this isn't super pretty yet. This is super fresh and new. And I, again, want to give credit to the trees that were attending us as we were brainstorming and thinking about all of these wonderful ideas and really taking to heart, as Marissa mentioned, all of the amazing feedback and work that you all have done to get us to this place. So Regeneration Nation is the offspring of all of these mutual interconnections. Mycelium was something that folks had named as being something especially inspiring and an imagery that we wanted to bring forward with the summit. So again, how do we all connect? How do we share our secrets and our skills to build something beautiful like a forest. And some of the core tenets here, and this is a bit of an expansion, we have resist, restore, and regenerate. But we also have the need for repair, for reimagination, these ripples that we can all create when we're grounded in our purpose. And then some nuts and bolts of the campaign, just so you're a little bit more familiar. And we're going to be unleashing so much more imagery and a lot more clarity about the campaign at the summit. So you're going to have to wait. But the Regeneration Nation is a 3-year multifaceted campaign that aims to make the vision of a just and regenerative future known throughout the US as an attractive and credible alternative to the status quo. In the face of accelerating climate chaos, systemic inequality, and political dysfunction, an unprecedented coming together of society is needed to radically transform our entire way of life. By providing increased mentoring and support for grassroots initiatives, training the next generation of regenerative leaders, and facilitating communities of practice on topics of strategic importance, catalyzing practical action, and fostering regional collaboration, Regeneration Nation will serve to rapidly increase the visibility, capacity, and impact of the regenerative community's movement at this critical time. And this is an especially critical time. And we were deeply inspired by things like the Citizens Climate Corps that has been talked about, but has seemed to be pushed out of legislation. And we're also holding that Rob Hopkins quote, we can't wait for the government. We can't act as individuals. We need to come together as communities to make these alternative institutions and ways of providing regenerative livelihoods like happen now. So again, some of the core pieces here are our resist, repair, regenerate, which will also culminate into a week of action. We have a focus on providing support for our local initiatives, featuring things like a tour where we can go and meet with you all in person in a safe way. I know we're still holding a lot of questions around the pandemic, but in a safe way to provide support around strategic planning, leadership succession, capacity building, and also just connecting with you all in the field. I was able to meet with Janice Lynn. I don't know if she's still here, but that was amazing. This is what makes the work worth it, is seeing you all. And then we also have a focus on building up our regional hubs. We have magic happening with our regional hubs. We want to keep that work going and growing. And then also this focus on our regenerative core, which is our own answer to the climate core that could be. We're not going to wait for it. We're going to create our own and provide ways for young people. This is broad, but we want to focus on young people who want to get into this kind of work and connect them with local initiatives, provide ways for them to create regenerative livelihoods. We need to provide those alternatives, and we need to find ways for people to meet their basic needs. So these are kind of the key pieces that I'm really excited about. And again, we're going to be going a lot more in depth with this campaign. There's a lot of moving pieces, and we're going to need your help. So one of the easiest things you can do to help us really unleash this in a good way is register. Invite all your friends and family, everyone to register for the summit. And another piece that is highlighted in our media toolkit is the invitation to create a 30-second video. This could be a way to highlight your local initiative. You can have imagery of projects you worked on, announce who you are, answer the question of what regeneration means to you. And we're going to edit these little 30-second video snippets together into an experience that we'll share at the opening ceremony for the summit. So this will be a good way to show the fabric of our movement in one place. So really, really inviting you to do that. If you need any support or guidance, I'm happy to put my email in the chat. We're here for you. And we really need you all to help get the word out. So again, channel the power of that mycelium and those little branches that connect us under the surface. And thank you for all that you do. Again, we're deeply inspired by y'all. We can't do this alone. And thank you. So that's what I have to share about Regeneration Nation for now, with much more to come.
Can I throw in one more thing?
Yes, please.
That can help you guys. And I mean, the reality is, everybody knows, if you're in that meeting, how impressed I am with where this organization has come. they need donations now. So if you have any ability, this, and you believe this is the real deal, because whether we like it or not, we got to get this to a Red Cross scale around the world. So if this is the organization, it's time, for us who can, to give.
Thank you for that, Mark.
We love when other people ask people for money for us. Yeah, that's wonderful.
My partner likes to tell the story of how my car broke down during the first national gathering, and Mark passed a hat around and we raised enough money to fix the car so we could go home. Community. Yeah, thank you all so much. We really, really appreciate it. I feel inspired. I hope you do. Feel free to unmute yourselves and say some farewells.
Thank you, everybody. This
Thanks,
is awesome.
everyone. This was great.
Thank you so much.
Great.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you all.
Thanks,
Really,
everybody.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Fireflies.
And antibodies.
And antibodies, if you could hear.
Nice work, folks.